hope all of my little hash browns are doing well. Today we're going to be talking about area of a triangle. And so first, before we start taking some notes, what I want to do is first show you a square. Well, Mrs. Rodriguez, why are you showing me a square if we're going to be talking about area of a triangle? Well, I want to show you that all triangles are off of the basis of a rectangle or a square, okay? So if I cut this square diagonally, I have a rectangle, right? I actually have two rectangles, but that is a rectangle, isn't it? So it kind of makes sense to say that a rectangle, a triangle, I have triangles. It kind of makes sense to say that a triangle is half of a square, doesn't it? All right, well, let me show you one more. Let me show you a rectangle. So here's a rectangle, and let's say I cut this one. And once again, I have two triangles. So it would be fair to say that this triangle is half of a rectangle, as well as this triangle is half of a rectangle, okay? So now, hopefully, that should help you understand how we get the formula for a triangle. Okay, so remember you should have your notes book, and if I'm writing, you're writing. So the area, and remember we write area as A, of a triangle is 1/2, remember, because we took a square and we cut it in half, of the product of its base, remember we write base with a B, and its height, and remember we write height with an H. Okay, so there's two different ways to write this formula. The first way to write this formula is this way. Area equals 1/2 times base times height. Remember, we don't need any multiplication signs in there because there's letters. And so we know when there's a letter right next to each other or right next to a number, it means multiply, okay? So you could write it this way, but the way that we like to write it the best is this way, okay? This is the preferred way. So I'll write preferred right here. Okay, preferred way. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Because remember, if I multiply something by 1/2 or I divide it by 2, I'm going to get the same amount. So for instance, if I multiply 100 times 1/2, 0.5 times 100, I'm going to get 50, right? But if I divide 100 by 2, I'm still going to get 50. So it's the same thing when you have those inverse operations. It's the same thing, remember. So this is actually the easier way to write it and to work it out, just because I don't know, it just seems to be more memorable for students. So we prefer that you do it this way, okay? So now let's look at a triangle. So let's go ahead and draw a triangle, and we're going to go up, down, and then left and right, okay? And our base, remember the base is the bottom of the shape, is 5 inches. And remember, we never use the slanted line, so that means this is our height, and our height is 8 inches. Okay, so now let's solve for area with this triangle using this formula. So remember, the first thing I do is write my formula, but I already have it there, so I'm not going to bother writing it, okay? So area equals my base, which is 5 because that's the bottom, times 8, which is my height, divided by 2. Now that kind of looks like a semi-normal math problem, right? It's actually like an order of operations. So when you see the fractions like this, you have to remember, work on the top. Then if there's any work on the bottom, you do the bottom, and then you divide, okay? So 5 times 8 is 40. And I can't do anything with the 2, so it's still divided by 2. Now I divide, okay? So 40 divided by 2 is 20. So that means area equals 20. All right, let's do another. And hold on 2 seconds, let me get my phone, because once again, I forgot to pull out my math calculator. Oy, oy, oy. Remember, you are allowed to use your calculators to do the multiplication and dividing if you want, okay? Because you should be able to do that by hand anyway, so if it's just a little faster, you can do that. All right, so that was our example 1. Let's do example 2. All right, for example 2, we're going to do down, across, and over. All right, so this time my base is going to be 11 feet. Notice that this triangle is very similar to this one, it's just laying down. But the one up the side on the bottom is the base, okay? And then this side is going to be 4 feet. And I know that's my height because I never use a slanted line, ever. Never use a slanted line. If I put a measurement right here next to a slanted line, you ignore it, okay? You don't use it, all right? Okay, so once again, I'm going to write my formula. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Now I'm going to fill in my formula. Area equals base, 11 feet because it's the bottom, times 4 because that's our height line and we never use the slant, so I know it's not 6, divided by 2. Ugh, that was silly. Divided by 2. I already did my math in my head, that's why. Okay, now I multiply straight across. 11 times 4 is 44, still divided by 2. And 44 divided by 2 is 22. So area equals 22 feet squared. And I just realized I forgot to put inches squared on that last one too. Okay. All right, let's work through one more example together. Or maybe 2 more. Let's see. Okay, so this one will be number 3. And this one's kind of a funky one. It's not quite a right triangle like those others, right? Okay, so this time, again, I know that this is my base. 22 meters. All right? And then this right here from my highest point to my base. So this is my highest point, right? That is my height. And that is 10 millimeters. Or, sorry, 10 meters, sorry. Mrs. Rodriguez just gets stuff mixed up in her head sometimes. Okay, so now let's work out our area. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Then we fill it in. Area equals 22 times 10 divided by 2. Now we do the math. 22 times 10 is 220, still divided by 2. And then 220 divided by 2 is 110, which means my area equals 110 meters squared. Okay, we're going to do one more example. Okay, number 4. This one's kind of hard to draw. Okay, so now look carefully at this triangle and you will notice that I have 2 slanted lines that I'm not going to use because this is my base. The bottom of my shape is my base. Okay, so I can't use this slant and I can't use this slant. Well, Mrs. Rodriguez, if you can't use the slant, where are you going to get the height from? Remember, we just have to go from the top, the highest point of the shape, to the base, to the bottom, okay? So all I have to do is draw a line from here. Remember, it's kind of like an imaginary line, so it's dotted, to the base. And then I know that this is my height. Okay? And this measures 8 centimeters. Okay, so start by area equals base times height divided by 2. Then we fill it in. Area equals 15 times 8 divided by 2. And I don't know 15, hold on, let's see, 30, 60, 90, 120. Okay, so 15 times 8 is 120 divided by 2. And then 120 divided by 2 is 60. So area equals 60 centimeters square. All right, once again, there was really no hard math in it. We know how to do the math. It's just remembering your formula and where to get the numbers from. Very important to remember, where do I get the numbers from? Never, never, never use your slanted lines. And always remember to write your formula so you remember to grab the right numbers. And remember that a triangle is half of a square, so you always have to divide by 2 at the end. Always divide by 2 at the end, okay? All right, you're off to go do some practice. There's a practice assignment waiting for you. Bye, guys.